Okay, yeah, so this is my endgame review. So obviously, so much I could talk about. I could easily make this video an hour long, but for the sake of preserving your time, I'm going to keep it relatively short. Alright, so the way I see it, you can essentially look at Endgame as the last chapter of each of the original Avengers, with the exception of Thor, who we'll probably see more of. So while there's a multitude of stuff I could talk about, I'm just going to try to focus on the OGs. Alright? Now, spoiler alert, at the end of this movie, guess what happens? Alright, the good guys win. Alright, which I find funny because they really ought to have lost. Because in Infinity War, when they arrive on Titan, Doctor Strange looks into alternate futures to see all the different ways their epic struggle against Thanos can end. And Star-Lord's all like, how many did you see? And he's like, 14,406,000. And Tony's like, I bet, how many do we win? And he says, one. This means that Thanos' chance of victory was literally 99.999999928, and this dude still lost. Alright, this man has to be the unluckiest villain in all of fiction. Imagine buying every lotto ticket in the country except for the one that wins. Like, I just find that completely hysterical. Now, with that said, going into Endgame, I had a few concerns, because, there's, I think, 20 or 21 movies leading up to this. Are they going to be able to neatly wrap everything in a bow? Or will things feel kind of rushed? Or, have this feeling of something left to be desired? And the answer is yes. I absolutely felt like a couple of things were rushed. Starting with Hawkeye. So the movie starts off by showing what he's been doing, or like what he was doing during the Infinity Snap. He was with his family, living the humble civilian husband-father life, and then suddenly he can't find them because, they were wiped from existence. And it's later revealed that during the 5 year skip since the snap, he's been on this ruthless, violent crusade of criminals all over the globe. He actually becomes a relatively unknown comic character known as Ronin. Now that's cool and all, but the motivation behind it felt very weak. Like you never hear Hawkeye explain how the pain drove him to that point, or what it was like for him at first to try to live without his family. It's basically, yeah, so I just kill bad guys now. And even when Black Widow finds him after, those 5 years to recruit him for, their little time travel adventure, he jumps out of this very depressed, don't give me hope I'm lost state of mind very quickly. It's not even like that scene from Spider-Man 3 where, Peter goes to Harry and says, yo, I need your help. I can't beat Venom and Sandman by himself. And he tells him, leave. I don't want anything to do with you. Just go. And, he does some soul searching for a bit. He gets a revelation from his butler, and after some deep thinking, he decides, you know what, I gotta go help my boy. That doesn't happen with Hawkeye. It's literally the scene basically goes, Clint, we need you back. Please stop doing this. No, I don't want any hope. Leave me alone. Please. All right, fine. Like I just didn't buy it. It didn't feel very real. All right, and then you have the Hulk, who, like Hawkeye, has gone through a tremendous change. So Bruce Banner has now learned to stay in the form of the Hulk while retaining his own consciousness. Now, I feel that this was out of nowhere and explained in a very lazy way. All he really says is, yeah, I just stopped trying to get rid of him. I stopped treating the Hulk like a disease. Apparently, the whole time it was that simple. No serum that suppresses the Hulk, no intense meditation like he did to become the Hulk at will. All he had to do was just accept the Hulk. Although I guess it's a good thing that it took him this long to figure this out, because as a combatant in this movie, he's completely useless. Literally, all he is good for is being a vessel strong enough to not be killed from using the stones in the gauntlet that Tony builds. And I think we can all agree that no one really wanted this. This is horrible fan service. Like a year ago when we saw Infinity War, we saw the Hulk get bodied by Thanos in the first 4 minutes of the movie. Like Thanos was giving him them hands. And later, when he's given the chance to, retain somewhat of his dignity in Wakanda, he refuses to fight for the rest of the movie. I don't know about y'all, but I saw that and I was like, all right, I guess he'll do something dope in the next movie. And he doesn't. Not at all. All he does is gently throw some stuff, and the closest thing we get to it is the alternate universe Hulk violently smashing stuff in the way we all like to see for a few brief moments. So for me, the Hulk was an absolute disappointment in this movie. All right, and then there's Thor. So during the time skip, Thor really lets himself go, and he gets all fat. And at first, it's absolutely hilarious. I could not stop laughing. But then when they, get him out of his depressive state of mind, uh, to get the Infinity Stones, he stays fat. I was like low key. I was expecting him at some point to slam Stormbreaker on the ground and magically transform himself back into shape so he actually looks like the God of Thunder, and he never does. And it's actually really unpleasant to see for the rest of the movie. And I also found myself wondering what exactly happened to the Asgardians, because that really ought to play a lot into what Thor's motives are in all of this. At the end of Ragnarok, when he's leading them to Earth, like Moses Exodus style, and they're attacked by Thanos at the beginning of Infinity War, and it looks pretty clear to me that all of them were slaughtered. There's nothing in this scene that indicates that any of them were left alive. However, later, if you watch the scene when he first meets the Guardians, he says that Thanos wiped out half his people. All right, so I guess there are some survivors. It would explain the scene at the end of Endgame where he's telling the Valkyrie warrior that she needs to be the one that leads the Asgardians. No idea where that came from because the whole point of Ragnarok is that he finally comes to terms with who he is and decides to accept the responsibility of being the king of Asgard. But I guess he just decided to throw that out the window. Uh, and I'm just curious as to what these supposed surviving Asgardians were doing during this 5 year gap. Where the heck were they? Where were they staying? Who was leading them? What is their purpose in life? Like, I just have no idea what's going on with Thor. Like, he needs a fourth movie. They just need to do a fourth movie with Thor where they explain his life because I have no idea what's going through his head right now. Like he runs off with the Guardians of the Galaxy at the end, and which I found odd because he not only does he abandon his role as leader of the Asgardians, he doesn't even stay on Earth with the Avengers, where he at least has made a home for himself. He just decides to run off and do whatever he's gonna do with the Guardians. I just have no idea what's going on with Thor. It's so unclear to me. All right, now let's talk about Cap. I love Cap in this movie because they keep it simple with him. To me, him and Black Widow are the most level-headed Avengers. They really don't let stuff get to them. And his scene where he wields Thor's hammer along with the shield that Tony gives back to him was cinematic beauty. I think that's my favorite scene in any MCU movie. It was great fan service. We've been waiting for that since he almost lifted it in Age of Ultron, like 4 years ago. And seeing him as an old man after living a normal life in the alternate timeline, didn't see that coming. But it was really cool because it's satisfying to see because my dude really deserves it. Like you're watching him in all these other movies, and he kind of just has no place in the world aside from this hero role. So it was just very satisfying for me to see him finally get to just be with Betty in the other timeline. So that was really cool. And you got Iron Man. Now, everyone and their mom knew either him or Cap was going to die, and it turns out to be Tony, which I didn't get at all. I 100% thought it was going to be Cap. When Doctor Strange gives Thanos the stones on Titan in Infinity War, I thought the whole purpose of that was, just to not let Tony die, because we don't. Cap says we don't trade lives, but it looks like Tony winds up dying anyway. So my question is, what exactly are we supposed to believe would have happened if Doctor Strange just kept the stone, dipped, and let Thanos kill Iron Man? I'm just curious of what you guys think. Uh, because he dies either way. The only difference in Endgame is that he leaves behind a daughter who has to grow up without a father now. Now, the scene of his actual death itself, I actually love the way he went out. My son Tony went out like a boss. I really enjoyed seeing how far his relationship with Pepper has gotten. Like, earlier in the movie when he's contemplating telling the other Avengers about how he figured out time travel, he talks it over with her, and he's like, you know what, maybe I should just get rid of this thing and just go to bed. Now in earlier films, Pepper would have 100% told him to get rid of it and to hang up the armor, but she's at a point where she's accepted him for who he is, a hero, and she's like, no, yeah, you can do that. You can throw it out and go to bed, but are you going to be able to sleep? Are you going to be able to live with yourself? And when he decides to get back in the game, she's with it, right? Even when he's dying, she's not all on that. I can't believe you did this. What am I supposed to do without you? Now our little girl has no dad. You're so selfish. She's not on all of that. She goes, Tony, you can rest now. I just thought that was so beautiful. Like I almost cried. Her willingness to accept this sacrifice was just, oh my gosh, so beautiful. And last but not least, you got Black Widow, who has a very untimely demise that I did not see coming because she's supposed to get a solo film. So I guess it'll be like a prequel type thing. But Anyway, I it felt very abrupt because there's not really any deeper look into her character. They kind of just kill her off without progressing her in any way, in my opinion. I mean, she had this romance thing going on with Bruce Banner that's never going to get resolved now. I did enjoy the scene where she's fighting with Hawkeye over who gets to be the sacrifice for the Soul Stone. I've always wondered when I see these situations, like who's the one truly being more selfish? Because the person that dies gets off kind of easy. They're the hero. But the one who lives not only doesn't get to be the hero, but they have to live with the pain of having lost the other person. So that was very interesting to see. She's a very unappreciated Avenger. She's been kicking butt since the second Iron Man film, but in a way, she finally gets her time to shine by playing this pivotal role in beating Thanos. So, well done, Scarlett Johansson. And all in all, it's a pretty enjoyable movie. It does, in my opinion, heavily rely on nostalgia from older films and fan service. And but to me, my biggest pet peeve with the movie is that I don't really consider the the resolution actually happy because they bring back everybody that was killed in the snap, but they bring all those people back 5 years after it happened. Are we not going to pretend that that's not going to have consequences? Like you figure, I believe currently there are like 7 billion humans on Earth. So knowing that Thanos wiped out half of them, that means that they literally brought back like 3.5 billion people into existence randomly 5 years after the snap happened. Like we were told that governments were destroyed. Who knows what kinds of stuff happens? I'm sure people got remarried, and now all of a sudden, 3.5 billion people are back on the planet. Like you're not gonna sit here and tell me that that doesn't have catastrophic effects. Like I could literally see like in the next movie they should have like they should start off with a news anchor going breaking news: world hunger is a problem again. Billions of people out of work. Marriages destroyed. Like we can't sit here and pretend that like that's a a happy ending. That's crazy. But yeah, we're at the like the 12 minute mark. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so that's all I want to say for now. Again, I tried to keep this fairly short, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. Follow me on Instagram, Snapchat at DarkChocolateDX, and stay tuned. I definitely got a few more videos coming in the near future. Peace out, guys.